Bowl games getting canceled left and right. Unfortunately for Nebraska, they canceled their bowl invitation a long, long time ago with loss number 7. So not an issue there. But we're talking Nebraska football with all of you for the next 60 minutes or so. We'll see how it goes, depending on your comments and questions there in the live chat. Leave them right there. Huskers live right here on the Voice of College Football every Tuesday night, 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 Central, with this guy. Got Greg Peterson on the line from Husker Online. Greg, how's it going?
Doing pretty good. How about you, Mark?
I'm good. How's your holiday going so far?
It's going, I guess. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, I'm a little too sugared up, and that's saying a lot for me because I love sugar and I eat way too much of it, and I'm trying to mend my ways, but this was not the time of the year to be working on that. So I got trays and trays of cookies that are just a few feet away from me. So they're dwindling quickly. That aside, most of us should be through the shopping season for Christmas, but Nebraska is still looking for a quarterback, apparently. They were pretty, so I do an Iowa show also on Tuesday. Just got done with that maybe 20, 25 minutes ago. There is no hint of Iowa, despite their offensive issues, which across the board, Iowa did not have as efficient or as explosive of an offense as Nebraska did. With all of its issues, there's no hint or trace of Iowa looking for a transfer quarterback. While Nebraska, it seems to be pretty well documented. They were interested in Keaton Slovis. And now I'm hearing,
Well,
the names is Clay.
Last night they offered
Casey Thompson.
And then last night they offered Chubba
Purdy from Florida State. Okay.
Yeah. So so in a nutshell, you just I think you just broke it down right there. There's a lot of moving parts going on right now. Obviously, Casey Thompson is a guy that, has been in talks with Nebraska, him and his camp. And there's there is interest on both sides of this. Casey Thompson just said just yesterday, Nebraska is right up in there. One of the top teams on his list right now. And then Nebraska went ahead last night and put an offer out to Chubba Purdy. So you have two guys right now. And the interesting thing about the Chubba Purdy offer is that when he was coming out of high school out of Gilbert, Arizona, he was being heavily recruited by Nebraska's new offensive coordinator, Mark Whipple, to Pittsburgh. And we know that Keaton Slovis was a target for Nebraska, and ironically, he is heading to Pittsburgh now. And so Chubba Purdy's only other offer that we know of in the transfer portal was from Pittsburgh. So a lot of things going on right now with that. Now that being said, I think Casey Thompson would still be 1, and then Chubba Purdy would be 1A. But I'm not overlooking the fact that Nebraska is looking for 2 transfer quarterbacks right now out of the portal. I don't think that's unheard of at all, because if you want to break down that quarterback room at Nebraska right now, you have 2 scholarship quarterbacks coming back, and you have a scholarship quarterback coming in as a true freshman coming off of an ACL tear. So that room right now is it's pretty bleak, really. Because if you want to look, I'm not trying to overlook Logan Smothers or Heinrich Harbert, but if you want to go back a couple of years ago, when Logan Smothers committed to Nebraska, there were 5 scholarship quarterbacks on the roster. So, yeah, you're operating right now way below what you want to be operating at with that in that quarterback room. So I think Nebraska's got something going here, and I'm not trying to, I'm not making predictions or anything, or or telling you to stand by, but you might be hearing something here this week. And Nebraska might grab 2 of these transfer quarterbacks out of the portal. And another interesting thing I'll throw in there about the Casey Thompson whole deal is that when he was coming out of high school, before he committed to Texas, he was heavily recruited and was heavily interested in Central Florida. And the recruiting coach for him was Scott Frost at Central Florida. So there's a relationship there. And like I said, there's a relationship with Purdy as well. So I'm just throwing that out there. Look out. Maybe Nebraska has 2 quarterbacks coming in to compete for the starting job next year.
Folks, please like the video. That's the first thing you can do for us. Just smash the like button. Also, let people know that we're here every Tuesday night talking Nebraska football, 6 Central every Tuesday night with Greg talking up the Huskers. So the first time I saw Casey Thompson, I had heard about him. He was a big recruit, but he played in the 2020 Alamo Bowl against Colorado for Texas. And, of course, Sam Ellinger played forever. It seemed like he was a 17-year veteran in Texas, one of those guys that played constantly all the time, was a gamer, great quarterback, great college quarterback. Actually, Sam Ellinger is getting a start for the Indianapolis Colts, plays at Carson Wentz this Sunday. But anyway, so Casey Thompson replaced Ellinger when Ellinger left the game in the Alamo Bowl. Casey Thompson comes in, and my goodness, I know it's a small sample size. He only threw 10 passes, went 8 for 10, but he was throwing NFL type throws, like anticipating receivers being here that were there when he released the ball, and navigating the pocket and throwing different arm angles. And he was splitting windows. It was an amazing display of 10 passes. So then he steps into this season, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, where he lost the job in August camp to Hudson Card, another highly touted quarterback. But then Hudson Card had his issues in week 2 against Arkansas, and then Casey Thompson took over. And, he
only led the Big 12 in touchdown passes.
Exactly. Yes, he did. And I was
And with most of that, I mean, after the Oklahoma game, he was playing with a sore hand the rest of the season. So,
yeah, he wasn't completely healthy. He didn't play all the games because Card got maybe 100 pass attempts himself. So it's not like he was chucking it the whole year. So he didn't start until week 3. And he had a huge game against Oklahoma, 28 for 34 with 5 touchdown passes, 388 yards.
Yeah, so he had 3 5-touchdown games this year altogether. I mean, yeah, you remember that Oklahoma-Texas game. That was a shootout, and he was going berserk. So, yeah. That's a guy that obviously a guy that's got some experience and has had some success. That's why I'm calling him 1, and I'm calling Purdy 1A. Because obviously, when you're talking about Chubba Purdy compared to Casey Thompson, the sample size of games played, not even comparable right now, because Chubba Purdy hasn't played a whole lot of football yet for Florida State.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy in Casey Thompson that, again, the year before threw 6 touchdown passes, threw 4 in a bowl game. And then he comes into this season, leads the Big 12 in touchdown passes, even though he doesn't start every game, 65% completion percentage, 24 TDs, 9 picks. Versus Chubba Purdy, who got his playing time last season, 2020, had 2 games in which he had significant playing time, 12 for 21 against Pitt. This is an interesting stat line. Never seen this before. 12 for 28. Guess how many yards he passed for? 12 for 21 for 38 yards.
I was gonna say 40 something, but yeah, I knew
that's throwing some dump offs. But my goodness. So anyway, 12 for 21 for 38 yards. And then he
Pull
had
the
a
ball
nice,
downfield, for God's sake. So, yeah.
he had a decent little outing against North Carolina State, 15-23 for $181 and 2 touchdowns.
But I think we all know that Florida State program has been,
Yeah, it's been rough.
kind of a rough go at it. So, and I'm sorry, I didn't watch any of those games, but yeah, I'm sure
No,
that
I haven't seen
that
Chubba
wasn't
Purdy
all on
play.
him. I mean, he was a 4-star. Okay, he was a 4-star coming out of Gilbert, Arizona. So obviously he's got some talent, and his brother was pretty darn successful at Iowa State here, not too far away in Ames, Iowa. So yeah, you forget about the career that his brother Brock had in Ames. So yeah, there's some pretty good lineage in there, and again, it just goes back to saying why not grab 2 quarterbacks out of the portal? Bring in competition. You know what? You need all the help you can get right now. Just infusing talent in to try to keep this thing moving forward. So that's what if I'm a betting man, I think they're going to grab, and they have a really good shot at getting these 2 guys. Seriously. So I kind of like what's going on right now with it. After missing on some of these other guys that they had targeted that have signed elsewhere so far, and another thing is too that Purdy says that he wants to be enrolled by January, and I'm sure Casey Thompson is the same way. So you're running out of time. You got to make your decision because you only got a few days left before the semester starts. So something's happening.
Some people are commenting about the evaluation of the offensive line, meaning that any quarterback interested in Nebraska is going to want to check out the offensive line, which makes total sense to kind of gauge how successful they can be.
Well, and that's a big question mark right now because you're bringing in a new offensive line coach and a new offensive coordinator. And obviously, you're losing some talent off of that offensive line right now with Cameron Jurgens leaving for the NFL. But you have a decent nucleus of guys coming back, and you're adding everything you can possible, and you have a lot of young talent there. So I think it's more about just more of an opportunity to compete for a starting job right away, and then kind of see how it goes. So I don't think that's such a big question mark in any of these quarterbacks' minds right now. I think they're just looking for an opportunity that fits them the best to move forward. And it's all going to believe in, the fit, the atmosphere, the culture, and if they think that Nebraska is the right place for them. And obviously, when guys come and check it out and stuff, you get a pretty good shot at landing them. So we'll see how it goes. But I don't think that's as big of a question as it's being made out to be right now.
Well, off the subject matter, but worth noting, just confirmed online just a couple minutes ago that John Madden has passed away.
Oh, no. Didn't say that.
Yep.
Oh.
D-Rock Irish put it in the live chat, and then I just looked it up, and yeah, the stories are coming out just in the last 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's probably why my tweet deck died. It was getting bombarded. Oh, boy. That's horrible news.
Yeah.
What a great part of our lives. He made football so fun.
Absolutely.
Wow. And there's
Absolutely
a special coming. They just had a special coming out on him. Yeah, I mean, oh boy.
Yeah, I hadn't heard whether it had been released yet, but certainly something I was interested in seeing.
I thought it was supposed to be Christmas Day, but maybe it was New Year's Day. I'm not sure. That's horrible news.
Yeah, at the age of 85, great Raiders coach, Hall of Fame announcer and coach, and one of the greats. And like Greg said, beyond that, made it all fun. Was able to explain the sport to millions of people in a fun way.
Yep. I mean, people our age grew up with him. I mean, he was a everyday figure in our lives. That's for sure. Wow. Yeah, tearing up a little bit.
Yep, that one is difficult to take. That one is difficult to take.
The guy that introduced the turducken to American culture.
Yes.
Didn't
And
invent it, but
savings.
he introduced it. Oh, man.
Gary, who's the new offensive line coach? That's been the question.
Well, if you want to go watch the interview that he did when we got a chance to talk to him, you can go right ahead and do that. It was not very impressive. He doesn't talk a whole lot. But it is Donovan Raiola from the Chicago Bears, off the Chicago Bears staff, and obviously his brother is a legend. He's a college football Hall of Famer. His name is up on the Wall of Fame here at Nebraska, and so hopefully he can whip the offensive line into shape, and he actually, I mean, what he does, he says some good things about his system and how he believes guys should play and stuff. So we'll see how it translates. He had been, he's been working at the NFL level, so obviously he probably knows a little something about the game. So, so we'll see. I mean, he's got the Polynesian background, and that's always going to help you in recruiting, obviously. So, we just don't know a lot about him quite yet. I mean, we know about his family, but once spring ball starts, we'll get to know him a little bit better and kind of see what his style is and everything. But I know one thing, that they brought in a guard out of the transfer portal for a visit and impressed him quite a bit, and could be the next transfer portal commit here coming up. So we'll see how it all works out. Things are still kind of moving right now, and obviously there's still a spot or two to fill on that coaching staff after Tony Tuioti left, which in my belief is that you're probably gonna just kind of shuffle things around a little bit right now. You'll keep what you got on the defensive side, and then probably hire a new special teams coordinator and a running backs coach. So I wouldn't expect to see anything new on the defensive side of the ball, unless somebody gets Travis Fisher away from the staff, because he would be the next guy on the list that's highly coveted out there with all these coaching changes that have gone on and people looking to fill their staffs right now.
So Donovan Raiola, as a player, it's coming back to me now. Played at Wisconsin.
Yeah,
so there you go.
No, he started at Wisconsin. Yep.
His brother was a really good player as well. But,
well, right, and there was a Barry Alvarez connection, which also, with his brother in Nebraska is kind of why he ended up at Wisconsin. But he was a heck of a player.
Yeah, he kicked around the NFL a lot, mostly on practice squads, off-season squads. But in the span of just 5 years, he must have been on, oh my goodness, Rams, Steelers, Rams, Seahawks, Cardinals, Bears, Buccaneers. Buccaneers. He played for the Omaha Nighthawks a couple of years, and then the Redskins. But then in his coaching career, he had a couple of years on the high school level, then offensive line coach at Hawaii, graduate assistant at Notre Dame, Aurora University, Chicago Bears for 3 seasons, and that brings him right up to his Nebraska job.
You know what? I wanted to ask him in the press conference. I didn't, but I wanted to. As a third generation Chicago Bears fan, why that everybody says the Bears O-line sucks so bad. But I refrained from asking him that.
Yeah.
But we'll see. Like I said, he's a man. He's not. I don't think he's had to do a lot of press conferences before. So he might get better at that. But obviously, he knows the game, and I think Nebraska will be fine. And Scott Frost really believes in what he preaches. So I think it's a good fit all the way around for Nebraska. And let me elaborate a little bit too with I brought up my thoughts on the defense. Mike Dawson, who was the defensive line coach when Frost and his staff first got here, and then he left for the NFL. And then he's back, and he's been the outside linebackers coach now. But I expect him just to move back over to the D-line coach and also keep on coaching those outside linebackers. Then you have Barrett Ruud as the inside linebackers coach like we have. And probably you make Barrett Ruud the recruiting coordinator out of the whole deal, like I'm saying. And then I'm thinking probably it's Bill Bush that would be the special teams coordinator. And then, a running backs coach to be determined at this point. So those are my thoughts on the staff changes right now.
Folks, there are a number of ways you can contribute to the channel and this show in particular. So we're looking for a sponsor. So hit me up at MarkRogersTV at Gmail, MarkRogersTV at Gmail, if you'd like to sponsor the show or know of anyone who may be a good connection for us to reach out to sponsor the show or the channel in total. Also, hit that like button and subscribe right here at the Voice of College Football. And as Greg has mentioned, if you want to hear from Donovan Raiola or catch any of the video work that's available there on Husker Online right here on YouTube.
I like Dan's question right there. And I think that if everybody's reading Dan's question, that I think that I think Scott Frost has kind of started thinking a little bit more like going to the pro style offense, a little bit more of a mix. We'll just say that, not totally giving up on what he was doing at Oregon and at Central Florida, but I think you have to be able to play to the conference that you're in, and obviously the Big Ten is more of a power game and more of a pro style game, with maybe the exception of Ohio State. But I think you're still looking for a mix of that. That's why Casey Thompson, I think, fits the mold so well. And with bringing in Mark Whipple, I think, and that was a thing that, Coach Frost said that he's known Coach Whipple for a long time, and he wanted to bring in somebody that he trusts to, call plays and run a system. And I think that Coach Whipple is more of a pro-style guy, and that's why you see the offer go out to Chubba Purdy as well. So I think you're getting a mix of both of those guys that you're going to bring it in and compete and see which way is working out better. So I think right now he's kind of leaving all options open, and that he's still kind of looking for that right kind of a mix to be successful. Because we've seen the offense be prolific at times, and as long as they're not turning the ball over and creating their own mistakes with penalties and stuff, it's a pretty darn efficient offense. So I don't think it's broken that much. It's just there's a few things that you're trying to just move around a little bit to make it work much more efficiently.
I am looking through the comments that have been left to the various videos on the channel here for the past week. This came up in conversation with a few other teams here recently. So if we would go to the recruiting board for the state of Nebraska for the 22 class, and even going into 23 for who's committed and who's interested in whom, Nebraska, I don't think, would fare as well as most fans would hope in bringing in. I got to think the top 10 or 12 players in the state would be targets, right?
Well, you're always going to want the top guys out of the state. 10 or 12 is kind of a stretch.
Is it?
Yeah, usually you're looking to bring in 4 or 5 in-state guys. The top 4 or 5 guys that you're going to be able to get. But you'll take more, obviously, if those guys fit your needs at that time. I mean, obviously, we've seen Nebraska overlook guys because that just wasn't a position of need in the past. So, they've got their targets on the board, and they've been working them hard. That's the one thing that has really helped this season. I mean, we've talked all along about this very small recruiting class. 13 guys. You're never going to, people are, why are they ranked so low? Because you only got 13 guys in. If you want a high ranked class with 13 guys in it, you better have like 6 5-star guys and the rest are 4 stars. So that has allowed Nebraska to concentrate more on, the upcoming years, the 2023s, the 2024s. So that's where they've been putting most of their time into. And obviously this season was kind of an anomaly where you missed out on most of the top guys. And quite frankly, most of those guys didn't grow up here and were not Nebraska fans. And the whole time that they've lived here and stuff, Nebraska hasn't been very good. So they chose to go elsewhere, and they made that known early. So Nebraska moved on from them and didn't push the issue any longer. So, like I said, you can't take everybody in state, obviously, but you're always going to target those top 4 or 5 guys that you really covet and that can help your program. And then you find other guys, diamonds in the rough throughout the year that, at least you bring them in as a preferred walk-on, or you offer them later, where you saw that happen with a guy in this class, like a Gage Stenger, who was committed to Kansas State. But his play really warranted an offer. Nebraska had an open spot for that, so they made the offer, and he quickly jumped on that and decommitted from Kansas State, and now he's going to be a Husker. So that's kind of the way you have to look at it. You can't just bring in. You're not a state that's loaded with superior talent where you can say, oh yeah, we'll bring in the top 15 guys and we'll be fine. Just doesn't work that way here in a state like Nebraska.
But in a sense, because of that, it's more important that you make sure you get as many of the top 5 as possible, which I've gone back to 2019. So in that particular year, the Huskers got all 5 of the top 5, which was Nick Heinrich, Chris Hickman, Garrett Nelson, Garrett Snodgrass, and Ethan Piper. So 2 of those guys definitely worked out. And then the other years, the return's a little less productive here. Hang on. In 2020, that class, Nebraska got 2 out of the top 5 with Xavier Betts and Isaac Gifford. You know what the story is on him?
Well, yeah, he came in. He's the one who took over for JoJo Doman after JoJo's season.
Okay, I thought so.
Yeah. So I mean, he's still a freshman. So he got in there, and he's on track to be a starter on the Black Shirts defense next year. So yeah.
Then in 2021, just 1 out of 5, and that was Ernest Hausman. And the other 4 went to Missouri, Oklahoma, Auburn, and Oregon.
Right. And like we're saying, that those guys, they made that known early that they were not going to come to Nebraska. Obviously, for the last couple of years, Nebraska had been recruiting them up until a point where it just they knew it was not, it wasn't for them. So they're all good players in their own right. I see, Gary asking that too, but you know what? I've seen him play a lot of football, and he didn't do much in front of me. So, we'll see if he pans out at Oregon or not. So, the jury's out on all these guys. And I'll tell you what, I've seen Ernest Hausman play quite a bit, and I really like his upside. And he might be a dandy here down the road. So, it's all about your needs and your class size and what you're getting. Two of those guys that you just brought up were tight ends, and Nebraska, as we know, is loaded at the tight end spot and didn't need to go after those guys. So it was not a big deal to them. Obviously, the offensive tackle at Omaha Central, you would have liked to have him probably as a guard or center, especially losing Cam Jurgens. But he's the only one that I would think that you kind of missed on. So we'll see. We'll see. I mean, there's issues with all these guys. Bottom line, rankings aside, a lot of those rankings come from guys that have never seen these guys play in person. Our opinions get mattered less and less, I think, every year for the guys that are out there in the trenches watching these kids day in and day out. I think that's just kind of the way the business has gone. Maybe at Rivals, I don't know, but if it's happened elsewhere. But it's been a strange year this year. Recruiting, the interest has dropped so much just with COVID and everything going on, and so we need to get back to normalcy to get everything back the way it's supposed to be and get people back involved. And I'm not just saying fans, but I'm talking about the whole industry nationally, because you have a lot of people that just, quite frankly, don't go out and see kids anymore just because it's they don't want to travel and go through what society's going through right now.
The top 5 on Rivals for the state of Nebraska for 2023 is, as you well know, Gunnar Gatula, the offensive tackle's number 1. He's a verbal to Nebraska. The number 3 player is Ben Brommer, tight end, verbal to Nebraska. So out of Malachi Coleman, out of Lincoln Northeast, Maverick Newman.
Lincoln East. That's my high school.
Lincoln East.
Don't call him
familiar.
Don't say East. We don't claim that.
Maverick
Noonan. Yeah.
Noonan and Tatum Tuitu.
That's Tatum Tuioti. Probably
Tatum Tuioti.
Boy,
did I butcher that?
Probably will be in Oregon next year. Probably won't be an in-state kid anymore since his dad. How about took a job at Oregon?
How about Coleman and Noonan? What are their possibilities of landing in
Maverick?
Lincoln?
Well, Maverick Noonan's dad is also a legend here.
Yep,
name
Danny.
And he's the most highly coveted recruit for Nebraska in this class, in-state wise. I think chances are really good. He visits. He's been to. I think he's at every game. He's on the sidelines at every game as a visitor. And I think his dad wants him to play here, and we'll see. So chances are really good. Now Malachi Coleman, another guy that just started to blow up this year, Lincoln East, and he is a stud. I'll tell you what. I graduated from Lincoln East in 1987, and I can guarantee you, in my lifetime, East High football, nobody's ever seen a guy like this at East ever. He's 6'6". He can run. He's listed as a wide receiver, but I love him as a rush end. He plays both ways, and he is a difference maker on defense. I compare him to a Randy Gregory, who's doing pretty well for the Dallas Cowboys when he's available for him. But this kid can just shut you down. I see him make amazing plays off of the edge, And it doesn't help to be six, or it doesn't hurt to be 6'6" as a wide receiver either. You send him on a go route and you just chuck it up there, and he's usually going to come down with it. He's got great soft hands. So outstanding athlete. I love this kid, and I want to say I think Iowa State was the first to offer him, and then Nebraska jumped in right after that. Literally a day after I watched him play on a Friday night, and had an outstanding game. And I love Nebraska's chances with Malachi Coleman as well. He's another guy that's on the sidelines every game as an official or unofficial visitor. So those two guys right there. Right now, I think Nebraska, you can ink those two guys in there with Bill Brahmer and Gunnar Gatula. And I would love for Tatum Tuioti to stay here and play, but Tony Tuioti is doing what's best for his family, moving to Oregon, closer to his home base and family and everything. And you really wanted to see Tatum Tuioti play here because I love his upside too. Him and Maverick Newman are my two favorite guys in this class. Seriously, both playing basically an outside linebacker spot, defensive end spot, and are so much fun to watch, both of them. And I would have definitely would have said Tatum Tuioti is going to be a Husker for sure if his dad was still here. But they're not going to stop recruiting him, obviously, and because you also still have the ties there with the Akana family, who's the number one outside linebacker in the country for this class out of Honolulu, Hawaii, whose sister stars on the Nebraska volleyball team here too. So, it's a big loss losing the Tuiotis, but we'll see how it goes. But I really think Nebraska has a great shot to land at least the top 4 guys in this class out of the state, maybe the top 5, obviously. So,
talking Nebraska, folks, with all of you each and every Tuesday night, 7:00 Eastern.
There's another guy,
Central.
Another guy we didn't mention. Yep. His name's Benny Aguay. He plays at Lincoln High School here in Lincoln. He is another 6'5", long receiver, fast guy too, and I think Nebraska has a great shot at landing him as well. So. Yeah, you can see Nebraska really cleaning up here, especially in Lincoln, which is it's pretty rare to have a lot of talent coming out of Lincoln as opposed to Omaha for this class.
So we would ask everyone and appreciate everyone that's encouraging everyone to hit the like button. That helps us out. Check out Greg's work at Husker Online, whether that's actually huskeronline.com or right here on YouTube. Greg's video work at Husker Online right here on YouTube. And of course, if you missed the show, it's posted all week right here at the Voice of College Football on our Nebraska channel. So check it out. Bring some folks in with you. So Chris joins us on a regular basis. He's always in the live chat. So I think his question is pretty legit here. He's just curious in terms of what a star is. So we talk 5 stars, 4 stars, 3 stars, all of that. So what would be the best way to describe the star system?
Well, okay, start with 5-star. 5 stars projected as a surefire NFL draft pick. So you knock that out right there. A 4-star basically is a blue chip recruit. Power 5 guy that's expected to, be a 4-year starter and play at a high level. Breaking it down, a 3-star is a Division I prospect. There's a big gap in there, as I'll try to explain. With a star rating system, you'll see like a 5.6, a 5.7, 5.8, 5.9, that kind of thing. So there's a varying range in that 3-star area. There's also in the 4-star area, there's a smaller range. And that's how you basically get ranked. Like say like in the Rivals 100, you say like, okay, yeah, obviously these guys are 5 stars. These 4 stars. What separates them from like number number 30 to number 99 or what have you. So that 3-star, in that 3-star range, there's a bigger gap there. But if you're a 3-star, you are a Division I college football prospect that is expected to be a 4-year athlete at your school, and up to a guy that could be star basically. Then you drop it down to like a 2-star. Obviously, there is no 1-star, but a 2-star is a potential guy that could help you out, but more along the lines of like looking more at a Division II kind of a level, group of 5 kind of thing, as opposed to being a Power 5 guy. But being like a South Dakota State type guy would be like a 2-star, basically projected type of thing, as opposed to a 3-star that, hey, and you see a lot of 3-stars. I mean, most teams are made up of 3-star athletes anyway, and your 3-star athletes end up being your workhorses of your team, and ended up probably winning you more games than those 4-star guys that you bring in that don't end up working out. So that's in layman's terms.
So depending on your recruiting service, there are different numbers involved, but I'm looking at Rivals right now, and I'm looking at Malachi Coleman, for example. He's got a 5.7.
Mm-hmm.
So was that, there could be 10 different scouts evaluate him, and some give him a 5.4, and some give him a 5.8, and some whatever it averages out to.
Pretty much.
That's his rating.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Pretty much. And like I said, I mean, these days, most of these ratings and stuff, people rating them are doing it off of film. Okay. They're not there seeing these guys play in person. And Rivals used to have a rule is that you were not allowed to be rated until you were seen in person at either a game or at a camp or one of those kind of settings. Obviously, COVID has kind of thrown those rules out. So, and it's never been an exact science, and obviously it's an opinion. And if you're a so-called recruiting analyst, and I'll use that term lightly because I think anybody would call themselves a recruiting analyst these days. It's opinion based. It's how well do you think that these guys project as they move forward, and we've seen it time in and time out that people are wrong all the time. Where were the people ranking Khalil Mack back in the day? So there's always going to be guys that fall through the cracks, but the best way to know is to go out there, see these guys in person, and that's the fun part of my job, and that's the one thing that I really, really enjoy to do is go out and see these guys play high school games across the country, and then I can say that, hey, I know that guy. I saw him in high school, and I've watched him play in the NFL now for 10, 12 years. So, it's basically opinion. I mean, it's all opinion based. There's no technical way to do it. That's just the way it is. It's not a computer punching out these numbers.
That said, I just picked out 2017 randomly. The number 1 player in the country was Walker Little, offensive tackle, Stanford. I believe he's in the NFL right now. I've kind of lost track of him, but he was a really good college player, so he worked out. Jalen Phillips, number 2 to UCLA. He was a first-round draft pick. Alex Leatherwood, offensive tackle, number 3 to Alabama. He's going to play in the playoffs right now. He's going to be like a top 10 pick in the NFL draft. Number 4, Chase Young, Ohio State. He was the second pick in the whole draft.
One of the scariest guys I've ever seen.
So that's pretty good for the top 4. Trey Smith at number 5, offensive tackle, Tennessee. I've kind of lost track of him, but I do remember him being a decent player. He played. AJ Epinesa, the Iowa. Wow, is he the 6th rated player in the country? So he's making money for somebody. Forget who drafted him, but he's playing.
Mm-hmm.
Cam Akers at number 7. He's getting a lot of carries for the LA Rams.
Yep.
Florida State.
I think he just got hurt, didn't he?
The top 7 guys, yeah, he did get hurt. 8 is Foster Cyril, Stanford offensive tackle. I've lost track of him. I don't know. Najee Harris, Alabama, Pittsburgh Steelers at number 9. So he's a really good NFL player.
Yeah, he was a lot. I saw him a lot at our rivals camps and our 5-star challenge. He was awesome. He was really fun to watch.
Yeah, these rankings they're pretty accurate. You really,
well, like I said, the 5 stars are pretty easy. You know, you don't miss on a lot of those guys, especially when they're ranked that high and they have unless something tragic happens to them in their college career, they're gonna pan out and be a draft pick, a pretty high draft pick most of the time. But yeah, it's after that 5-star where it starts to get a little bit dicey, where there's a lot of hit and misses there.
Yeah, I'm just curious. 2014. So we're going back to where these guys should have a couple of years in the NFL. Your top 4 are slam dunk, really good NFL players. Myles Garrett, Leonard Fournette, Cam Robinson, Jabril Peppers.
Yeah.
Kyle Allen, quarterback, Texas A&M. I remember him playing quarterback at Texas A&M. He's in the NFL kicking around, but he's not a player. Speedy Noel, Texas A&M.
Quarterbacks are the one position that it really, you can have a guy ranked number 1. Let's just use like Matt Barkley as an example. Fantastic player coming out of high school. Had a really good career at USC as well. Hasn't translated to the NFL. He's been a career backup. And I'm just using him for an example. You can go across the board with highly ranked quarterbacks coming out of high school that just end up kind of as a career backup guy. So I think quarterback might be the hardest position really to translate from high school to the NFL.
All right.
I mean, Terrell Pryor was our number 1 player in the country one year. He had a fine career at Ohio State, but turned into a wide receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult, especially when you make a guy your number 1 player in the country is a quarterback. I think that's the one that you might miss on a lot of times. Especially when you see other guys that you obviously know when you see them in high school that, oh my God, he's a grown ass man already, like a Jadeveon Clowney. I went to cover him when he was a senior in high school. I knew he was going to be the number 1 pick in the NFL. I didn't care where he was going to go to college at. You knew he was going to be the number 1 pick. That's just the way.
Yeah,
it's you can tell. You can tell.
As opposed to Terrell Pryor, because of playing quarterback, there's just so much information to process and skill development. He's got to run a system. He's got to lead an offense. He's got to be a leader. He's got to do all those things. But his athleticism obviously showed that he was able to play in the NFL because he could play wide receiver in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So it obviously translated athletically that he's an NFL player. But in terms of the position, not that he didn't get starts in the NFL at quarterback, because he did. He just wasn't a established NFL quarterback. Couldn't hold down a job.
Yeah, and I think and I'll move to a different wide receiver group. A different position group. I'll go with wide receiver. These guys, I don't know how many wide receivers that I've seen play over the years, and they all look amazing. And I don't know if that's just more of a natural position where that you can kind of project that, oh my God, this guy is going to be really good. You know, I can just go down the list of your top receivers in the NFL, guys that I've seen play in high school. I mean, just go down the list: Julio Jones, uh, DeAndre Hopkins, AJ Green. I mean, Odell Beckham Jr. I can go down the list. Stephon Diggs. I mean, just guys that you see in high school. They're like, oh my God, this guy is going to be something in the NFL. That might be my favorite position group to go see when they're playing in high school, because you already know they're a stud athlete and you're just waiting for them to put on a show. And it's pretty rare when you go away, when you leave a game and he didn't do anything, and you were kind of bummed that you wasted your time going to see this guy play.
Absolutely. I was just curious. Yeah, 2012, Dorial Green Beckham, who was a total freak, but he had off the field issues that derailed him in the NFL. Stephon Diggs, great NFL receiver at number 2. Deontay Greenberry, he didn't work out, at least in terms of the NFL. Chris Black, yeah, he was at Alabama. Thomas Johnson, Amari Cooper, of course, is great. Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting, yes. So anyway, we could get lost in all that. But yes, the recruiting rankings, they're accurate in mass, but there are tons of 5 stars that busted, tons of 2 stars, or not tons, but 2 stars. Number of them became NFL players.
Right.
So,
yep. You never know how somebody's going to, I mean, when you're evaluating a kid when he's 17, 18,
yeah.
You don't know what college life is going to be like for him. You know, he might pick a college that doesn't fit for him, and he ends up a bust there. It's just hard to say. I mean, you know, kids mature at different rates, and obviously, athletic talent is something that you know, it grows at a different rate as well. But you know, those freak athletes, you can tell from a young age that they've got that certain it, but do they have it upstairs? Can they make it through a whole college career and then, you know, make it to the NFL and be successful? It's pretty hard to you know, tell from one kid to another.
And that's why I think it's so much more difficult what these college evaluators are trying to do in evaluating high school players than pro scouts are doing evaluating college players, because to go out and scout a 15 or 16-year-old kid and try to project how much he's going to develop physically, forgetting all the other stuff you just mentioned, which is totally part of the deal too, but just physically, some kids hit their peak at 15 or 16 and they don't develop a ton more past that, and some aren't even anything close to what they're going to be when they're 19. And then the various levels of high school competition is all over the place, as opposed to if you're an NFL scout and you're watching a player play in the Big Ten, well, you know the level of play that they're playing against, and you know they're 20 years old, 21 years old, and sure, we can develop them a little bit more and we can develop their game, but shoot, they're playing in a big time program, and you know, it's just so much more to go on that's more consistent and known watching a big time college football game and players than going to some high school somewhere.
You know what? I think the biggest thing that I see with a bust is a kid that finds out once he gets to college he doesn't like playing football. That happens a lot. That's one factor you don't really take into account. That it was fun in high school. You were winning. Your team was great. You get to college, it's a different animal all of a sudden. Maybe you're not winning games, and the game's not fun to you anymore. And you decide, you know what? I don't want to play football anymore. Maybe I'll just keep going to college, but I don't want to play anymore. And that happens a lot. It happens more than people think.
Yeah. And maybe also you're just so good versus everybody you're playing at the high school level is that it's more fun versus, man, I got to bust my tail and I'm getting hit a lot harder. And these collisions are a lot tougher. And these dudes in front of me are a lot harder to move.
Yep.
And this is more of an everyday thing, not just I go to practice and I'm so much better than everybody. It's pretty much of a breeze for 2.5 hours versus, man, I got to seriously lift weights now.
Yeah, you got to put the work in.
Yeah.
It's a dedicated job. I mean, you're called a student athlete, but it's a job. I mean, be honest, it is a job. And it's a pain in the butt. You have to have the right mindset and the right attitude to do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to be back at it. What, a couple days into the winter semester, coming back from
air conditioning, yeah,
Christmas break. They'll be back at it. And just think about these guys, everybody listening to us right now, and we don't know the half of it, but they're going to be in a gym at 5 a.m. lifting weights. And they're not even close. They're 8 months away from playing a football game. But if they don't do it now.
Think about how many of us, when we were 19, 20 years old, were waking up at 4:30 in the morning to go bust our butts and work out before practice even starts at 7:30. So, yeah. Like a lot of the Rex Burkhead comments, he had a heck of a game Sunday. My goodness.
Yeah, he is still getting it done, isn't he?
He was a kid, I'll tell you, when he was in high school. I had the pleasure to meet him down at the TCU Nike camp and interviewed him there and shot a bunch of footage of him just making DBs and linebackers look silly. And, he was definitely an all-time fan favorite here at the University of Nebraska, that's for sure. And it's great to see him getting some success there on Sundays still. He's got a couple of Super Bowl rings to go along with it all too. So
yeah, I got to admit, I didn't really give it that much thought, but I don't know that I expected him to be this good in the NFL.
I'll get him in a minute. Yeah, he started off with the Bengals, and I think he was their starting running back. I think until Giovanni Bernard was drafted, and then later Joe Mixon. But you kind of thought his career might be done then, and moved on and really played some key roles there for the Patriots. And now he's he again as a backup. All of a sudden, he's been thrust into the starting lineup for the Texans and making the most of it. And that's the kind of player he is. Rex, he'll take his opportunities and he'll go with it. Hell of a competitor and heck of a football player and one tough son of a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you who aren't aware, 22 carries for $149 and 2 touchdowns this past Sunday. And he didn't get on the field until the last Sunday of October. And they just, I don't know if he was injured before that or what the deal was, but then they started giving him the ball. And he's come through. It's good to see.
Good to see Amir Abdullah also doing some things for the Panthers here late in the season as well. So a little bit of Nebraska flavor going on, and still on the weekends right now.
Yeah. Amir Abdullah.
You're talking about star rankings. Amir Abdullah was a 3-star, and coming out of Alabama, everybody wanted him to play corner. Nebraska said, "Hey, we like you as a running back," because he played running back. I saw him play in the Alabama-Mississippi All-Star game. It was the first time that I met Amir, And a little bit shortly after that, he committed to Nebraska. And that, ironically, was the year I moved back to Nebraska from Nashville. And when Amir was a freshman, and first day of practice, he walked in, and I was standing there. He's like, "What are you doing here?" And I told him, "I'm following you, buddy." So yeah, he was a guy that was not highly coveted, who came to Nebraska and made 2 4-star guys leave the program because he was better than they were, and he's also had a pretty good career in the NFL. Once upon a time, if younger people don't remember, but Nebraska used to be running back you. They really desperately want to get back to that again. But year in and year out, you had Nebraska running backs running wild in the NFL.
Roger Craig, Tom Rathman,
Lawrence Phillips,
Samon Green.
Oh yeah, Calvin Jones. Prince Mukamar? Or no, not. He's a corner. Roy Halou. God, keep on going.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, folks, we appreciate you being here. Before you leave, hit the like button, and then remember to make it on back and bring some folks with you. We would love to triple our audience. Let's go for that. Let's go for like 300 a week here at the Voice of College Football on our Nebraska show. We got Greg here. He devotes his time each and every week, every Tuesday, 6 Central, to deliver some Husker talk for us. So, Greg, we appreciate it. Happy New Year, and we'll see you back here on Tuesday.
Sounds good. Happy New Year to everybody, and go Huskers.